Welcome to the Feminine Critique. I'm Emily.
And I'm Christine.
And we do a podcast about movies mostly. Right.
Yeah, and that's what you're listening to right now. Chumps.
Indeed. Lots of movies. This is a catch-up. So it's just us going through a bunch of the movies we've watched since the last time we talked about a bunch of the movies we've watched. That is our definition. Look it up in the dictionary. It's there. Christine, you got a lot of movies. I got a lot of movies. But this kind of starts up probably at the end, like around Christmas time was like probably the last time we did this. I will skip over my, 97th rewatch of The Muppets Christmas Carol and Muppet Family Christmas. I'm sure you did those as well for the holidays.
I didn't.
Gasp!
But my first movie of the year, because I track on Letterboxd, and you see it every time you look at your stats, and I've picked some really unfortunate first movies of the year. So this year I went, no, I'm going to have to look at this all year. We're going big. So my first movie of 2024 was Muppets Take Manhattan.
No, you're doing it right. You're doing it so right.
And it makes me happy every time I see the cover. I'm like, aw.
That's a smart thing. I know a lot of people have different ways of doing that first movie of the year. That some people like to I'm gonna watch the best movie of last year, or a movie that I've heard great things about that I should do. I like that idea of no, because what I usually end up doing, inevitably, it ends up being like some shitty Lifetime thriller. I don't know what it was this year. I don't know how quickly I can figure that out. But I like that idea of I used to do that on my birthday. I would just rewatch today I'm going to turn on Dawn of the Dead or Maximum Overdrive or some movie that I love that I just want there when I want to feel that way. But I don't know what mine was. You're smart that way. How would I even know? When added, newest first. Is there a way to break up your... Oh, I don't know. It was probably... those are all Christmas movies, so they would have been late. Okay, it might have been, and I'll dive into this one, because I think you might have watched this by now.
Ooh.
I'm a big, things that are going to be nominated for Oscars or are nominated for Oscars. I like to try to watch so that I can be justified in having very strong opinions come ceremony time. This one actually was not nominated for Oscars, but had a lot of talk about it. And it was one that you kind of couldn't not watch because it felt like everybody was talking about it, so I wanted to watch it quickly, and that was Saltburn.
I still have not watched it.
You haven't? Okay.
I really, really need to.
Sure.
Do I? Oh, no.
It's fine. It's fun. I think it's just impossible to come at this movie because it's even me not being somebody that is on TikTok or really immersed in any social media discourse of anything. I still somehow can't avoid hearing people who I don't know. It's one thing if my friends are talking about Saltburn. Okay, yeah, then let's talk about it. But it's somehow this movie is everywhere, and it's fine. But I don't want to. I still want you to watch it without anything. And I think the farther you get away from the conversation around it, then the more fresh you can go in. It's perfectly fine. It's very enjoyable. I had a good time. There are things in this movie that are very good. It looks great. Rosamund Pike is hilarious. There are some very funny moments. I did chuckle. Everybody looks very pretty. I just don't know that this merits the, stop everything. This is the movie of the year conversations that came about it.
Can I ask you a question about it?
You certainly can. Doesn't mean I'll answer it. But...
Well, it's very broad.
Okay.
So I don't know anything about it still, which is somehow remarkable. I have no idea what this movie is about.
Yeah.
I have never read a synopsis. I've never seen a trailer. I've seen some stills, but that's it. So something that happened a couple weeks ago, I think, was a few of the bootleg t-shirt companies that I follow.
Yep.
All released designs for it. And I was like, is this a genre movie or a cult movie? I just did air quotes. You couldn't see me though. A cult movie? I didn't understand why there was this sudden outpouring of these types of shirts and designs for this style of movie. I didn't get it. So now I feel like I don't know what it is.
So without saying, again, because I don't want to the problem, even me having tried to stay away from it, like I still went in knowing enough to know that I knew too much about it. So I don't want to say anything that will do that to you. Because I do think it's a perfectly fine movie. And I think there's
Mhm.
aspects of the filmmaking here that's great. Um, it is, whether it was intentional or not, it's a very, um, what is the word I'm looking for? It is a movie that feels very much like it is directly speaking, I think, to a certain segment of the population that likes to
Mhm.
grip onto things in movies.
Okay.
So there's a lot of, whether it's like images or particular scenes that you know are kind of meant to elicit gasps in the audience, and you know it's the kind of movie where if you saw it in a theater, half the audience would be laughing, half the audience would be disgusted, half the audience would be walking out, half would be rolling their eyes. I know that was more than half, so turn a half into a quarter. But it's very like, and I think this is something was true in Promising Young Woman too, that Emerald Fennell, like, she's, I think, about our age. She grew up very wealthy, very educated. She's an actress. I think she's very cool
Mhm.
and understand is has a really good ear to know what is going to appeal, like how to kind of tickle a viewer in a certain way. Like Promising Young Woman, a lot of the music choices, a lot of the costume choices, like there's things about it visually that feel very like just that this is somebody who I think generationally and culturally has a really good ear for what is going to be memorable. Not necessarily what's going to be great, but what is going to connect with an audience, which I respect. I think
Mhm.
I see those wheels spinning, so I don't connect to it that much, and I felt the same way in Promising Young Woman. But like I can't deny that she is. I'm trying to think of who she kind of. There's somebody she reminds me of, and I can't quite put my finger on it. But just a filmmaker who knows how to get people talking about her movies, and that's a great thing. I don't necessarily need to talk about them because everybody else has already talked about them.
Huh. So to me, it sounds, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, a bit calculated.
I think so. Yes,
Mm, I'm
yes, I'd say.
not super jazzed about that,
Hmm.
but like I'm still into it.
Yeah, why not? Give it a go. Give
I'm
it a
gonna
go when
do
you
it
get the chance to.
eventually.
Yes, yes. I have a few more Oscar-y ones. Did you watch anything in prep for the season?
I don't think I've seen anything, so I think you should just go for it.
Okay, so I have, let's see, an international Best Picture nominee. Actually, I have two of those on here. Look at me, I'm so fancy. And one of them, it also has a makeup nomination, I believe, and this is Society of the Snow, which is on Netflix. It is the easiest way of saying it is the another telling of Alive. If you saw Alive back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Is this is it a period movie?
Oh
Like
yeah, no,
it's
yeah,
just
it is. Absolutely, it is I believe it is. I don't know what. I think it's Spain's entry.
yeah, okay. I do you said the name and I was like, "How are there so many movies I've never heard of?" But I do know what this is.
It's yeah, it's Alive. And I have so I grew my brother's favorite movie growing up was he had two. It was this Alive and What About Bob? So I watched both of those movies a
Solid.
lot. Like I Alive is very much in my bones. I think about like the joke my mother used to say it no matter what. Anytime I went on she or I went on a plane, she would always either say to me or slip it in my bag some chocolate because in Alive they eat chocolate and red wine and then they run
Mhm.
out of it. So like that's how much in my bones Alive is. And this is, the same story. It is and it's an incredible story, an absolutely incredible true story of a plane crash and being stuck in the Andes Mountains for, I think it's like about 3 months in total. Um, this is a good telling of it. It took me a little bit to get into. I think this is true of a lot of movies like this. Of movies, I think there is a reason why on I know Survivor, for example, the TV show had said like early on in its run, people asked, "Are you ever going to do like a wintry, like a somewhere instead of like you're always on a tropical island? Would you ever do Survivor in winter in the snow somewhere?" And they said, "Well, no, because." people can't wear bikinis, and it's also really hard to tell people apart at that point. And that was a little bit of my problem with this movie, was just all of these young men. Um, they all kind of look the same to me because they are all just young men of the same age, and they're covered in snow and parkas, and I could not remember who was who.
Mm-hmm.
That gets better as it goes, just because you start to pick out who's who a little more. Um, so, I mean, it didn't fully hit me maybe the way it could have, but I also did watch it in 3 sittings because it's very long and I just didn't have the time.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's very well told. It does some things very nice. I think it is very respectful, and I'm guessing this was very much done in um, with the survivors and very respectful of their stories, and it's a good if you like these kinds of stories, then it's definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, I tend to get very disturbed by that kind of story, so I don't usually
Yeah,
seek it out.
I mean, and this was like, if you did you ever see Alive?
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen it a couple times. It's great. It's a great story. It's just, and I've always thought that. Like, I love the story and the characters and the
Hmm.
mechanics, but I don't like what it does, because
Yeah.
I know that it's real life, but like for me, I don't eat animals, so like eating people is like really breaks my brain.
But see, I don't know. I feel like I do eat animals and I feel bad about it. I feel like I would feel less bad about eating people if I had to.
I
But that's me.
I feel like it's like this molecular thing for me at this point. Like, just the idea of
Hmm.
flesh is just so foreign and scary. And then to have it be like one for one flesh on my bones, I'm like, oh God, no, I can't handle that.
Well,
It's
and
terrifying.
it is, and this movie handles it very well. And I think Alive did too, because in
Yeah.
the reality of it was. It was an incredibly difficult decision for the survivors to make. Nobody wanted to do that, and some actively refused and were dying, and were a lot of them eventually like really gave in very reluctantly. And the movie does not and Alive didn't either. Like, they were both, I think, very cautious about how to show that, because these men are still alive, and it was all
Oh
the
yeah,
survivors were men.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't ever think that like the point of those movies is to be like pro cannibalism. Like,
Right. Right.
it's obviously like a testament to the enduring human spirit and stuff
Yes,
like
very
that.
much, very
Yeah.
much. On that note, another movie about the enduring human spirit. I kid. So I did something I haven't done in a long time. I went to a movie theater by myself to watch a movie.
Whoa! What
Yeah,
did you see?
I went. There's a cute little independent film house near me called the Jacob Burns Film Center, and I had like a random free day where I'm like, you know what? Here's a director who I love, who doesn't make movies often, who has a movie in theaters, and it seems like one of those movies that you should go and immerse yourself in because it's heavy matter, and I know it's going to have a great score, and I kind of want to experience that score with the correct way. So I took, like, a nice lazy Sunday afternoon, and I went to see Jonathan Glazer's The Zone of Interest.
Oh, okay. And
I mean, I'm about to say I loved it, and realize how awful that makes me sound as a human being. Because this is, for those who don't know, this is a story of the Nazi men in power, or Rudolf Haas, I guess, and his family, who live just outside of Auschwitz. And it is their story, and yet right behind them are clouds of smoke coming from Auschwitz. And I mean, I love Under the Skin. I love Birth. I still
mhm.
have not seen Sexy Beast, which I know is crazy, but
Oh, so good.
yeah, I'm sure it is. I just have not, like, I'm like saving it. It's like one of those things I do sometimes when I don't want to have like consumed all of an artist I love's work. Like, I always want there to be something for me to still watch. But this is, I think, and it's on par with the other two, certainly. It's, it's a very, I think it's one of those things where like only he could make this movie. I read the book it was based on, and because I knew it was very different, and it's really interesting how he adapted it. Which is to say, he does not adapt the story at all. It is very much just the idea of the family living on the other side of Auschwitz, and what that felt like and smelled like,
Mm,
and how you could get used to it and never think about it until a stranger comes in or a relative comes in and says, and without saying it, makes you realize what you're living amongst and supporting, but then you making the choice of maybe you're okay with that. And it's horrific without ever being bombastic. The sound is it. I laughed on Oscar announcement morning because I was watching the nominations, like I had them on mute, but I was watching them, and I see like best sound design or best sound I think is what they call it now because they combine the categories, and it's like the things that come up are all like Mission Impossible, yeah, Mission Impossible, like usually it's those kinds of movies. And then I see the zone of interest and I'm just thinking in my head how on Oscar night how they sometimes do like montages of the sound nominees, and like
Hmm.
you're gonna have a plane flying, and you're gonna have a monster, and you're gonna have an action scene, and then you're gonna have screams from, a gas chamber. Like, it's very that without punching you about it, because the whole idea is that you are watching this family and growing comfortable with it. And it's horrific. It's something I'd love to watch again. I highly recommend it, but I also say that with a lot of weight because it is a very complicated way of telling this. And I think there's always the thing that comes up every couple of years of like, oh, we don't need another Holocaust movie. We don't need another World War II movie. And you can say that if they're not doing anything different. And this is doing
Hmm.
something very different and giving another way of remembering um, how horrific this is, and how it is not confined to 1940. That this is very much something that we need to remember is always how it feels.
Hmm.
So I recommend. Then I have three more of the Oscaries ones. These ones are ones that have multiple nominees. Alexander Payne's The Holdovers. Are you an Alexander Payne fan? Where do you fall
I
on this?
I know this name.
Election,
Oh,
Sideways, The
not real.
Descendants.
I mean, I like Election,
I love Election.
but
Yeah,
oh, this is the Paul Giamatti movie.
Paul
I
Giamatti.
think
Yeah.
I think the place where I'm currently at is I don't actually know the names for anything, but I know like either the basic plot, who's in them, or the
Okay,
poster.
so I will describe everything from here on out that way.
No, that's okay. But yeah, fully. I know fully what this is. I have been curious about it. It's on my queue because the plot is interesting.
I believe it is on Peacock, I think.
Yeah, we actually still have Peacock.
Yeah.
So I knew I was planning to watch it.
Yeah, it's good. I think I would say it's very good. I don't think it's great. I think the
Hmm.
performances are great. I think all three of the main characters are done well. Paul Giamatti is very good at this kind of thing.
Yeah, I
Um,
always like Paul
yeah, and
Giamatti.
this is a very like this is the role you want to see Paul Giamatti in, as somebody that's kind of like sad sack, but also kind of a jerk, like in a lot of ways. And he's great at that, and he's somebody you watch and you just like that. It's nice to believe he's a human. Um, so he's very good. The kid Dominic Sessa is great, and Davon Joy Randolph will rip your heart out. She's fantastic. This is good. It's funny. I chuckled a lot. It's I again best movie of the year. No, but it's very good, and it will. I think it's a recommend. It's a perfectly good movie, I would say.
Yeah.
The next one is the two Oscar nominations. This is the Annette Bening swimming movie. Does that help?
Okay. Yep, it does. Thank
Now,
you.
do you know the name of it? We're gonna make
No,
this
I
into a
don't.
game. Okay, it is Naiad.
Oh, I would have never gotten there. So
I
I'm
could have,
really glad.
maybe I could have gotten you there. So Annette Bening and Jodie Foster both nominated, and this was the one that when I like saw the nominees, because I always especially want to watch like all the Best Actress nominees. I'm like, and I texted my friend, I'm like, damn it, now we have to watch Naiad, and then I watched Naiad, and I'm like, man, Naiad's really great. I really enjoyed it. I think you might too.
Yeah. I look. Hear me out. I don't think I knew that this was based on like a real thing. I don't know how I didn't know that. Looking at the way it's been marketed, but
I think apparently there's a lot behind it of like her as a swimmer. A lot of people have said like, oh, her records weren't clean, like she might not have actually done this thing. But even like the gist of it happened, and she was I think she's still alive, is a real person and is a lesbian, which is interesting. And I think the movie not plays with that, but like gives us that and gives us gay Jodie Foster as gay in a way that's really great and fun to. Jodie Foster in this movie is so fun to watch because it just feels like she is having a good time acting, and
Hmm.
it's. I was really shocked by how much I enjoyed it.
I love Jodie Foster, and that's kind of the only reason I even knew it existed.
Hmm.
Because I was looking at her IMDb because of Night Country,
Yep.
and I was like, "What else is she doing?" And I saw this, and I was like, "It's a Netflix thing, though." So like, right? It's a
Yes,
Netflix
it
thing.
is
Yeah,
Netflix.
me and Netflix, we're not really on speaking
That's
terms, so
fair.
I think that's why I didn't know much about it.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
would
nice to know that that you enjoyed it because I like this is would you classify this as like a sports movie?
completely,
Okay. You know what?
100%.
You know I don't like sports, but love sports
This
movies.
is such a sports movie because it is her. So, it's her in her 60s decides, she had tried to do it when she was young, swimming from Cuba to Florida or vice versa. And, she's gonna do it by golly, and she needs a team around her, and so she needs her coach, and she needs the boatsman, and she needs the medic, and like
Love it.
everybody is so there, and it's the movie that does the thing that like at the end of the movie they show you the real people, and you're like,
Yep.
yeah. This movie, it knows what it's doing, and you and I know that like, yeah, there's a formula. Yeah, I know like how it's gonna go, like, but that could feel really good, and you're
Sure.
doing that with with two great actresses who are in their 60s, I guess, playing women in their 60s who look like women in their 60s, and it's fun. Their friendship is so great. I don't know. This is really refreshing as a movie.
All right. Adding it to the queue.
All right, now the last one in my Oscar list. Okay, this is the one where Bradley Cooper plays a
Oh,
famous. Do you
I
know it?
know. Yeah, I know this one.
What's the title?
I don't know.
Yeah, damn it. It says, "What might you call somebody who conducts?"
The conductor?
Another word for conductor.
I don't know.
This is Maestro.
Oh, Maestro. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Also
Oh boy.
nominated for a bunch of stuff.
I think also because I'm not on Twitter anymore, I have no idea what's going on. But it is fine.
This is the villain of Oscar season. Oddly enough, like,
Yeah, so I know this. Can I tell you why I know it?
of course,
When the trailer came out, people were super upset that he
yes.
chose to use a prosthetic
Hmm.
that made him not really look like the guy in real life anymore. And he just wanted to do a prosthetic. And also, Bradley Cooper directed this, right?
Oh yes, and co-wrote it.
Oh, co-wrote it too. I don't know that I knew that. So like all that stuff made me kind of go like, I don't know if this is for me.
It is definitely the epitome of a movie that is
Mhm.
made knowing it's going to get Oscars or Oscar nominations
Ugh,
at the very least.
exhausting.
It is at the same time it is it's okay. It's okay to good, I guess. Like I'm watching this movie like with that exact feeling of like, oh, here are your Oscar, like here you go, Bradley. Maybe this is the one that
Hmm.
gets it for you. And I know I'm not the only one that feels that way because the general consensus is he is not winning anything for this movie. And part of it is everybody knows how much he wants it, and they're turned off by that.
Hmm. I
And
can
this is a
see
movie
that.
that very much like feels so much of that. But I'm saying that, and I have to concede, it's a good movie. He's good. Carrie Mulligan's always great. She's great in this.
Oh, for
I kind of
sure.
hate
Yeah.
her, and like I can't. And I know again, I'm not the first one to say this. Her character is really a. I would not want to be friends with this woman because I don't want to hear her talk. And this isn't like a oh I hate her voice type thing. Like no. Like this is the era of these fast talking women, and it's just kind of exhausting to actually watch and think I don't your witty repartee is not fun to me. But she's good at it. Like they're doing what they're supposed to be
Hmm.
doing for
Hmm.
these roles and for these parts. The music stuff is very good. I like this music, so I enjoy that aspect of the storytelling. Um, it does have I didn't because I didn't know enough about it going in, so it does go into like cancer hospice stuff, which I wasn't necessarily like, oh great,
Hmm.
this is how I want to start my morning.
Yeah.
But even all that aside, like it's a good movie. If you have any interest whatsoever in the subject matter, then definitely watch it. If you're an Oscar completist, then yes, watch it because I think you'll walk away saying it's fun. It deserves some of these nominations. I don't know that Carey Mulligan deserved actress, just considering some of the women that weren't nominated. Um, but it's fine. That's
Uh,
how a lot of my Oscar ends with. It's fine.
it's fine. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of why I don't bother for the most part anymore because I usually just end up on like the
What I find one of the reasons I try to watch a lot beforehand is that a lot of movies, especially the dramas, what ends up happening is if I don't watch them before the Oscars, and I'm watching them so that I can have some stake in the race and know how I feel about what's being nominated.
makes total sense.
But then Oscars happen, and then if I don't, let's say Past Lives, which I've heard great things about, if I don't watch Past Lives before the Oscars happen, I guarantee I'll completely forget about the movie for the rest of my life. Um, and I'm sure it's great. Like that happened last year with Fablemans. I got lucky and unlucky because I had been trying to watch everything I could before the Oscars, and then I still had Netflix discs. Remember those? And my Fablemans Netflix disc came the Monday after the Oscars, and I was like, "Oh, do I even have to watch this now?" And I did, and I'm like, "Oh, this is great. This is a really great movie. Yeah, I'm glad I watched this."
No, I do totally get that. And I think if I were interested or had any like horse in a race,
Hmm.
I would be the same. Like if I don't watch it now, then it's not going to be something that's at the
Yeah.
front of my mind. So I totally get it. And I did at one point actually try, and it did change the way the Oscars
Sure.
watched for me. But then I stopped caring about watching them, and it was like, okay, well then there's no reason.
Yeah. Well, and then as soon as you get invested, then you get your heart broken. So there's that too. Like the fact that May December only has one nomination. Like that hurts me, but you
Yeah.
know. All right, so I have other stuff outside of the Oscars, so let me hear some of what you've got.
All right. So I'm trying to figure out where to start. I have some weird ones on here. They don't really follow
Ooh.
any type of trends. So I watched a movie from 2007. A lot of these are older because I have not been super jazzed about new releases.
Hmm.
And that's for a myriad reasons. It's just, I don't know that modern 2020s movies are for me.
Sure.
I don't like the way they look a lot of the
Hmm.
times. There was also the strike and like, so there's just not a lot out there. So I went in the Wayback Machine to 2007. I watched a movie, and I think I'm saying this name right. I know I do this a lot. Greg Araki directed.
Yes.
Smiley face. I don't think I talked about this on this podcast yet.
You mentioned that you've been watching some Greg Araki stuff. You didn't give specifics, so tell
So
me. I have never seen this. Tell me about it.
so I had never seen it either, and it is essentially a stoner comedy starring Anna Faris.
Okay. Interesting.
I not really my thing at face value, but this was just so charming
Ah.
and irreverent. I know I'm such a nerd. Charming and
Put
irreverent
on your film critic nose.
and
Nose? Glasses? Put your film critic prosthesis.
yeah, my film critic like Groucho Marx glasses and fake nose. I loved it, and
Ah.
I need to watch it again. It was like life changing.
Wow.
It was joyful and simple and smart and absurdist and just really refreshing.
Oh, how wonderful.
Super high recommend.
Nice.
Um, you want another one?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so Village of the Damned from 1995.
Oh boy.
Yeah, the Christopher Reeve, Kirstie Alley one.
Okay. Tell me, this is John Carpenter. This is the movie that kind of, I wouldn't say ended John Carpenter's, it ended his funding for a while. I think he was supposed to make something right after this that was going to be a big budget, and the
Mm-hmm.
studio was like, nope, nope, we saw that movie, we're not doing it. What was your impression of this movie?
I ended up rating it 2.5 out of 5. It was fine. I think it had a lot of stuff that worked, which
Okay.
I was surprised by how much of it worked. The setup worked, the town worked, the
Mm.
characters worked, their interactions worked. I like creepy, small, weird towns, you
Me
know.
too, yeah.
But then it was like all of a sudden it didn't make sense.
Hmm.
Like there were connective tissue that never connected, and it ended up feeling kind of like hollow and half done.
Okay.
But I had to give it like that kind of averagey score because there were things that were working. You
Hmm.
know, you know, it wasn't total like dreck. I wasn't like this is garbage. I was more
Interesting.
disappointed, I think.
Because I think I watched it. I remember trying to situate myself for where I was because I know the last time I watched it, I was at a gym. But I'm trying to figure out, like, at what point would I have been able to watch it either on TV or on my phone at a gym? Like, so I think I'm going back like 15 years, and I remember thinking this is atrocious. But I have not gone back and with brighter eyes given it a rewatch. So maybe at some point in life I will.
If you're not chomping at the bit to do it, I don't know. I don't know that
Hmm.
it's worth it. But like, I was surprised by how much I didn't dislike it, which was
Interesting.
fun.
Yeah. On the Evil Children
Oh, you
train.
got one?
I do. I think I watched this on Amazon. I think it's one of those MGM Plus on Amazon, which I'm not. No, MGM Plus is not going to be a thing. But I pulled it up because I like anything movie that's about killer kids, and then I was pleasantly surprised to see it was directed by Roxanne Benjamin, who's somebody I like, and I want to see her continue in her
Mm-hmm.
career.
Mm-hmm.
There's something wrong with the children.
Hmm. I'm heading over to the IMDb
Take a
machine.
look. It's Matthew Sorensen from that's not his name. That's I don't know the actor's name, but it's the kid from Friday Night Lights who's in a lot of Mike Flanagan stuff.
Yep,
Uh,
I know this cover. I've
yes.
skipped past it a couple times. What say you, my friend?
It so it's a good setup. It's these two couples who are go like out to the woods together. One of the couples has kids, the other one doesn't, and the kids are acting weird, but only to one guy. And the first like 45 minutes, I was really into it. I was so excited. I'm like, ooh, I like what this is doing. It's saying a lot of things. It's exploring different things. I haven't quite seen this relationship in a movie before. I haven't seen this. And then you figure out what the evil is, what the monster is, what's going on. And it wasn't bad. It just, to me, just went in such a different turn from where it was going that it felt like a
Okay.
different movie. And I was like, all of the stuff you built up about paranoia and, about kids and this fear of kids, and maybe you don't want to have kids, or maybe it's because you're afraid of yourself and you're afraid of what you're going to pass on to them. All of that was so rich. And then it's just kind of a monster chase movie that was fine, but it just didn't go together for me. So I was disappointed because I thought there was more that I could have gotten out of this.
Mm-hmm.
But so I didn't really understand the choice in that basic storytelling. So it's not a total loss, but it's hard to like really recommend because I don't know. Maybe others will be like where it goes. It just was such a sharp turn for me that
Mm-hmm.
it didn't work overall.
I get that. Yeah, it looks like it has a 5 out of 10 on IMDb, which with a female director, that not to put too fine a point on it, that can
Right?
often mean that
Like
it's something
9.9 anyone else. Yeah.
I'll actually like. There's
Yes.
a lot of my favorite movies are 4.8s
Hmm.
on IMDb. But hearing that, it makes me think, maybe
Well,
that's a little justified.
it's tough because it's like it's a well-made film. The acting is good. It looks good. Even the monster design that you eventually see is cool.
Hmm.
It's like the plot I just didn't like. It was like actual screenplay decisions that just did not work for me. So, yeah. Eh. Uh, you have one that worked or didn't work for you?
I had one that worked quite well for me.
Ooh.
I was complaining about newer movies, but here's a 2023 one that I enjoyed. It is Eileen, the Anne
Oh,
Hathaway.
I'm jealous. I haven't watched this. It's not streaming yet anywhere for free, is
I
it?
think we rented.
Yeah.
This is now going back to early January, so my memory doesn't. Oh, January 6th. So I celebrated the anniversary of the insurrection. Um, it was amazing. It
Oh, I
was
can't wait.
really like exploitative, but like in the best way. It was absurd and heightened, and just Anne Hathaway was just ridiculous, and it was great.
I can't wait. I loved the book. I love that writer, and I know she co-wrote the screenplay. And I know the movie apparently takes some big turns from the book, which I'm really
Mhm.
excited to see. So that all of that is very exciting for me. I look
Yeah,
forward to watching it.
I think you'll enjoy it. You
I
might
probably
not be
will.
like, you watch a lot of Lifetime stuff,
Do
so
I?
I don't think you're gonna be phased by it. But like, I don't usually watch stuff that's that, and I mean this with love, trashy. So
Yeah.
I was like delighted by it, and it was
Okay.
very novel to me.
Oh, the world we could show you if you just listened to me,
I
James and
know.
Barb.
I know. It's honestly usually it's just a little bit of quality issue on some of those for me.
Okay, well, on that note, this was not Lifetime, but it was Tubi in Tubi Originals, Christine Makepeace. Have you watched Tubi Originals?
I haven't, but I know that they exist.
They exist and they're kind of wonderful because they're the ones I have seen have been either like almost asylum horror movies or Lifetime movies, but not. But because they're Tubi, they can also be like they can curse a little more, they can show
Mm-hmm.
more. This just felt exactly like a Lifetime movie. I was shocked that it was not a Lifetime movie. This was a recommend from our dear friends James and Angela. This is Killer Coworker.
Oh boy, that title really tells you something.
Well, and where do you like if I told you I watched a movie called Killer Coworker, where do you think it would be set?
I think my first instinct was office, but I would hope it would be more like a retail thing.
I agree. That was my biggest
Ooh,
letdown of this
doctor's
movie.
office.
Right, like you want that. Instead, this is actually at a health and wellness spa.
Oh,
Right, like it
I
just
mean,
feels like if you're going to do that, then have a different title, I think.
I thought it would. Oh, all right, that's fine.
But it's fine. Yeah. This is so terrible. It's hilarious. It's a woman is brought in, like a, MBA business woman is brought in to help get this spa up to par. And everybody is so hostile to everybody. And nobody actually goes to the spa. Like the entire movie, there's one customer for most of
Oh,
it. And it's just, and then like your lead is just making the worst decision she could possibly make. And I enjoyed the hell out of it. So, Killer Coworker, high recommend.
okay,
Yeah,
all right. To be original,
to be
Killer
original.
Coworker.
That's right.
That's funny. I don't think I'm ever gonna watch
You
that.
probably
Thank you,
will
though.
not. I know. But I did watch other movies you recommended.
Oh, fun! Like what? Do you want to
Okay,
tell
so
me?
yes, I have a pair of them
Ooh,
that
okay.
you spoke highly of both of them. They one was no, one was Amazon, one was Hulu. Um, and they are tonally very different, I would say, but they are both wonderful. So one of them was Carter Smith's The Passenger.
I watched a Carter Smith movie. That was the next movie I was gonna mention. Are you in my head? Uh,
Maybe.
that's so cool. So Zach told me The Passenger was probably his favorite movie of last year.
Wow,
Isn't that something?
it has
It's such a good
really
movie.
sat with me. I liked
Right?
it when I watched it. I was into it. I was surprised by it. I was moved by it. And it's been a week and I keep going back to it in my head and thinking it through and thinking more of what both him and the screenwriter, what was being done there
Hmm.
is something I have not really seen in a movie of just how it's kind of challenging you as to who are you rooting for? Like, who do you
Right?
believe? Is this guy a psychopath or is he actually kind of an angel? Like, and the fact that the ultimate story is about this young man's guilt over this thing that he did, the way it handles that and engages with that and is like very kind to that. I loved it.
Hmm. I totally agree. So, have you seen Swallowed yet?
Not yet, but
So it
where is
actually
it? Let me find out where that one is.
it it's not the same dynamic, but to me there are echoes of
Mm,
what's happening in Passengers happening in Swallowed.
nice.
And I think you would probably like it.
I'm sure I would.
For me, I actually like Swallowed more than I liked
Interesting.
this, but Kyle Gallner is
He's
just
so good. My
he's
God.
a real powerhouse.
There's a part of me that's mad that he doesn't have a bigger career, but there's also a part of me that is glad because it means he does a lot of genre movies.
Yep.
And he it's kind of like in its own way, I think of a lot of female actors who will say, well, ultimately horror is where I get to actually be the lead and get to do more interesting parts and have more dynamic things to do.
Hmm.
In a way, it's kind of like Kyle Gallner has kind of found that where he is so different in this movie. And I know people say like, "Oh, he plays a good dirtbag." I think this is the first time I've seen him kind of in that side because usually he's like sweet puppy dog-eyed Kyle Gallner. But no matter what he does, he's really good
He's
and
really good,
and
yes.
a really good scene partner too, which is something I
Hmm.
don't think he gets enough credit for.
He's really quite phenomenal, and I think what's cool is he seems to really enjoy these kind of
Yeah,
roles in movies,
I hope he
and
does.
that's fun for me as a person who likes watching it. So
Yeah.
it's fun to have somebody who's clearly really into it and stuff. Uh, I want to rewatch that movie.
You
It
should.
was really phenomenal.
It is, yes. The other one, wait, you said you watched another Carter Smith movie. What was it?
I watched a Carter Smith, and I think, if memory serves, this was one of those Hulu.
Into the Dark
Yeah, that's what
ones?
that was called. It's Midnight Kiss, and
Okay.
it's directed by Carter Smith. So basically, I think it's the New Year's one. Yeah, it's the
Would
New
make
Year's one,
sense.
and it takes place in Palm Springs,
Ah.
which I thought was like fun, and I love Carter, so I wanted to like watch it.
Hmm.
And I know that those Into the Darks, and that's why I've never really followed through on them. I know they have varying degrees of quality.
Sure.
Um, this was good, not great.
Hmm.
I don't think it really went far enough in any direction. But then when you kind of step back and look at what it was made to be, maybe that's all it needed to do,
Right, right.
Because
Yeah, the stakes are lower.
it's only 89 minutes. So then what's the inverse of that? Oh, that it's stuffed and over like full and too much and doesn't.
Hmm.
So I guess maybe it was fine, but I was expecting something a lot
Mm.
more affecting, I think.
Yeah, I haven't watched any great Into the Darks. I've watched some that
Hmm.
I thought were good, and I've I've kind of only watched the ones that I have been seen described as being the good ones.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen any duds, but that's because I really haven't watched the whole thing.
Hmm.
The other movie that you recommended on Hulu, I just laughed just thinking about it because it was so cute. Slaughterhouse.
Wasn't it
It was
ridiculous?
it was so ridiculous in the best way. We like puppets, you and I. Like a
Hmm.
puppet's gonna get me a lot. A an animal doing things it shouldn't be able to do is gonna always entertain me. And
Yeah.
this sloth was just the best. She was so great. Her in her little bikini, her
Hmm.
drinking beer, her sunbathing, her taking selfies and hashtagging them. It was great.
It hit the perfect tone for what it was
Yes.
trying to do,
Yes.
and like with such an absurd like
Yep.
concept, it really could have fallen apart in like a bad way. But this did it. It knew what it was doing. It stuck with it, and
It had heart too.
I
Like it
did.
actively gave its characters a growth trajectory and ended on a note that was very like, oh, we learned something here. I
Yeah.
loved it. It was
It,
such a
it
good time.
it made a lot of good choices.
Yes, yes it did.
I have a weird one.
I want to hear weird.
Okay. I do not know why I watched this movie. Oh, that's not true, because I decided to try to bump Val Kilmer up my list this
Okay,
year.
okay.
So this is from 2011.
Hmm.
It is directed by Francis Ford Coppola.
This
It
is,
is
I know this. This is the, Fanning is in this.
Yes, it's Twixt.
Twix, that's it.
I think it's got a slightly different name too. So my review of this movie is this might be a masterpiece. I'm going to watch it again in a year and I'll let you know. So as I've thought about it, I think it might be a masterpiece.
Is there, this is one that I think got like edited like crazy, right? Or
Yeah.
was it Coppola was going to make it like 3 hours and then studio backed out of financing, so he kind of financed it himself so he could make the movie he wanted. There's some weird stuff behind it, and I don't know if the version that's out there is the version he wanted to make and couldn't like and that's where he had to fund it himself, or if it was that it was cut. I can't remember.
So there's definitely two versions. There's Twixt, which I believe is what I
That is
watched.
the one I watched.
And then there is Betwixt Now and Sunrise,
Ah.
which is the new cut, I
Okay.
guess. And that there apparently isn't too much extra.
Hmm.
I just think maybe it's composed in a way that he's happier about.
Okay.
Apparently it's a lot to do with the death of his own child.
Okay.
So it's about like child loss and feeling like you can't do anything about it.
Sure.
Just this like ineptitude, this but like it's really, so I think something that might have thrown a lot of people off is the way it looks. I
Hmm.
don't want to say that it looks bad, but it definitely looks weird.
It's a very strange palette, definitely.
Yes. And I think in 2011, if I had seen this, I would have been like, I don't like the way this looks. This looks bad.
Yeah.
But now, because things look so different and often look very muddy
And look
or
very
gray.
similar to themselves, that
Hmm.
anything that looks different is kind of exciting now, I think.
So now it's kind of like, oh, this is doing something.
Right.
This looks this way for a reason. It's not just budget or like ability. He made choices. And I think just the Coppola-ness of it, like even if
Hmm.
it's not the greatest, the fact that it was deliberate and he made choices
Yeah.
was like exciting, I guess.
Yeah. No, I think that's valid because I think he's somebody who doesn't have to make movies. He's very rich. He owns
Hmm.
vineyards. He has Oscars.
That's a good
He
point.
doesn't need to prove anything. So I think when he decides to make films, and there's even a part of it that, like, not to say he's out of touch, but he is of a different era and age that he's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna win another Oscar in his lifetime. I don't think he's gonna make that movie that hits with the general public. Like he's not like the way Scorsese kept up regularly. I don't think
Hmm.
Coppola did. But yet he every now and then says, "I have a story I want to tell. I want to make a movie." And good for him to be able to do it on his own terms and put out what he wants to. There's something very admirable about that, even if it's not necessarily going to connect the way we'd expect it to. Like it's
Yeah.
that it's there is kind of good for him.
And you have seen it.
I did. I barely remember anything about it. I know I
Yeah.
watched it. I remember watching it in my old apartment. So, but like my old
Yeah.
apartment when I first moved in. So we're going back a long ways.
Yeah, if anybody's been interested to check it out,
Hmm,
I recommend it because I really do think it might play different in 2024 than it did when it was released.
very interesting.
Hmm.
Let's see. I have a movie that would play differently. I watched. This was on Tubi. Like I'm kind of. I think I've seen every Killer Doll movie ever made. So if I see anything that is vaguely different, um, found one from '84, I think, called The Power.
Hmm. Okay.
It's American, I think. It's a I think it's Mexican, like an Aztec. Not it's not a Killer Doll movie. I want to be very clear on that. But it is a amulet that possesses people type movie that has some cool and not necessarily great, but kind of interesting, rubber monster things going on. This wasn't very good. This was kind of an absolute mess. You could tell stuff got cut left and right, and the narrative does not line up at all. But it felt like one of those, like, oh yeah, they don't make them like this anymore for a lot of good reasons, but also kind of refreshing to see. So if you're looking for a horror movie that you maybe had not seen, uh, this one was new to me. 1984's The Power.
So I'm looking it over on the IMDb.
Hmm.
Would you classify this as like a haunted object movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have, as a haunted object completist, I think I
You'll
might
have
have
to
to
watch it.
watch it. Yeah.
I think you will find it of interest. It is, you can see what I'm saying. It's not good.
Yes.
It does
No.
not line things up correctly. I don't understand. The first 20 minutes of that movie make no sense at all. And it jumps around characters so much that in a way that you don't understand why they didn't just pick one character to have this movie be about. But that
Hmm.
being said, it's weird. It does some things I hadn't seen, has a great ending. So I'll give it a go.
All right. Making a note of it
Yeah.
now.
But do not give a go. I don't know if you watched this. I feel like a lot of people were because it was very on trend on Shudder. It's a Wonderful Knife.
I didn't enjoy it.
No, it's not good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of people did, and like that's great. I'm super glad, but like I
Yeah.
didn't connect with it in any
No,
way.
same. Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
Mm.
What else you got?
I have two that I'm going to lump together because I didn't really like either of them,
Hmm.
and they're both from 2023. One is Hypnotic, which is a Robert Rodriguez movie with Ben Affleck in it.
Okay. I
Yeah,
believe these words, but the fact that I've
I
never heard of
know.
it is weird.
Yeah, so it's it's really
Oh, that
bad.
poster is awful.
Um, a detective becomes entangled in a mystery involving his missing daughter and a secret government program. Ah, blah blah.
Ugh.
It's very boring. And then the other one is a movie called Lord of Misrule from
Okay.
2023, and Tuppence Middleton is in it.
I just
And
laugh at that name. I'm
I
sorry.
love her name. When the daughter of the town's new priest goes missing during the harvest festival, I mean, come on.
It's like all of this
This is
sounds.
yours to fumble.
Yeah, yeah. I'm into it. I'm into it. Where does it go wrong?
It just didn't. Nothing connected, and it didn't
Mm,
work.
nah.
It didn't really do anything. Similar to Village of the Damned or
Yeah.
whatever I think it's called. If you have this great setup, and then you're like, I'm not going to do anything with this.
Nah. That's a
It's a
shame.
bummer. But I wanted to love it.
Yeah. And I'm looking at that poster. It's very Midsommar. It's
Yeah,
very folk horror. And like, I would watch this if I didn't know anything about it. Like, oh my God, the trailer is playing and there's like a fall
I
festival and
know.
people are in costumes and Wicker Man masks. And
Yeah.
you're telling me no. So, whew.
I mean, maybe for you, but like the thing when I see that being promised, I'm expecting something, and then
Yeah,
I didn't get any of it, and it was a
I
little
get
bit
it.
of a
I get
bummer.
it. So I'll cheer us up. A movie that I saw the title and I saw a sprinkling of people saying things about it, and it tells you some things you're gonna get, and then it gives you so much more. Christine,
Hmm.
you have Criterion right now, correct?
I do.
And have you yet watched The Cat?
No, I haven't, but
Christine,
I've scrolled by it a couple
have to
times.
watch The Cat. This is the cat is an alien, I
Oh,
think. The cat is sometimes a puppet and sometimes a cat,
love it.
and can do. There is a about a 10-minute scene where there's a doggy and he's a big mastiff and he's a good doggy, but he's like his job is to attack this cat that he thinks is bad, and it is this epic junkyard battle between the cat and dog. Uh, there is stop motion involved. I have paused and screenshot, and it is magical. This movie is bonkers. There is, it's kind of thing where like people fly, there's lasers, there's stuff going on. It is everything. It is so zany. It's the guy who did Ricky O, the story of Ricky,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
if you've seen that, like, yeah, imagine that, but with a cat. So, yeah.
All right,
Uh huh.
all I need to hear.
Exactly.
Did you see Night Swim? Probably not.
No, I did not. I heard you
No.
said it was, no, I think we talked about it. You said it was not good at all.
Okay, I'll skip over it.
Okay. It's disappointing to hear because, I mean, Killer Pool, why not?
I know it was confusing.
Like,
I like I don't know,
why do
man.
movies do this? Why do movies
Who
do
am I to
this?
say this? Who am I to say this? But if you have a Killer Pool movie, I shouldn't be confused.
No, what more do you need?
It's a Killer Pool movie.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a bummer. Um, did I talk about Suitable Flesh then?
I don't remember if you did.
All right. Well, I finally watched Suitable Flesh, which is Heather Graham, directed by Joe Lynch.
Hmm.
Um, I was super excited for it.
Oh.
I actually kind of really want you to see it so we
Okay.
can talk about it. I liked it, but something about it didn't work for me, and I need
Mm.
someone to tell me what.
Okay. I know. So NOTLP just talked about it on their show. And one thing, because I remember when I didn't even realize it was Joe Lynch, who I like and who I think used to work at the
Yeah,
video
yeah.
store I'd go to as a kid. Um, but the one thing that turned me off was when I guess there's a little bit of a Cthulhuism in there. And
Mhm,
I
mhm.
just don't care about Cthulhu. Like Cthulhu and Lovecraft is never going to make me watch something. And when it comes up in movies, it is never going to make me more interested in the movie because I just don't, not my thing. Um, so that made me a little bit less of like, oh, I'll watch it today to like, oh, maybe I'll watch it. But okay, for you, I'll watch it.
Yeah, I will say though, with that being said, there are some like pretty good Stuart Gordon vibes.
Okay, I'll take that.
Like there are things in it and ways that
Hmm.
things are framed and
Okay.
filmed and presented that I'm like, oh, this feels like Gordon. But like it wasn't enough for me, and I
Hmm.
want somebody to tell me why.
Okay, okay, I'll get to it. I will get to it before the next time we meet.
And I'll watch The Cat before
Yes,
the
you
next
will.
time.
Yes, yes. If I've done one thing right today. Ah. Okay, another horror-ish movie I watched on Criterion that also maybe involves outer space, maybe. Uh, Wolf's Hole.
Ooh, what's that?
Wolf is in Wolf's Hole. For some reason, when I say that out loud, I worry it doesn't sound like those words. Do you know anything about this movie? It is a
No, I don't.
Czechoslovakian movie from, I think, the late 80s. Female director, female writer director. you should just watch it, is probably the
Okay.
best thing I could say, but it is very odd. I guess the director is fairly well known. It is, um, like going into it, I at first I assumed, oh, it's a like sort of Lord of the Flies ish. A bunch of kids are up skiing, like they've all been recruited. They don't know why, but they're like a bunch of teenagers together at a ski lodge, being led by these very unusual teachers. And then things start happening, and I assumed it was either a slasher or like some kind of commentary on slasher because the way it's
Mm-hmm.
described, even in Criterion, is very like, oh, that it's in exploring the American movie. And I'm like, I don't, okay, whatever this means. And I still don't fully understand. Like, it's definitely one that I have to go back to. But I really dug it. I think there's also things politically happening that I don't necessarily get because am not familiar with what this director may have been kind of talking about in the era.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very interesting. It is um it is not a horror movie. I do want to say that because I think other people may go into it thinking that, and that's not what you're getting. But it is definitely something that is playing off of sort of those tropes as a movie.
That's interesting.
And I loved the ending so much, and I thought it was very, I never saw it going where it went, and ultimately had a lot to say in a way that was very unusual. So it's a big recommend, but it's hard to really talk about because it's A, very weird, B, I don't know how much I got, and C, I would not want to make you think anything watching it because I think it's best experience fairly fresh.
Ooh, interesting. All
Yeah.
right, all right.
Yeah.
I have a critter on watch.
Yes.
Um, Baby's First Fritz Lang. Um,
Oh.
I know.
Wow.
I watched Ministry of Fear.
Which I have still not watched. It's on my queue.
It was really great.
Nice.
It was very like, I don't know. It was really weird. I guess hello. I'm showing up very late to this, but
But how exciting that you get to discover all of that. I only watched M for the first time last year, and I could not get over how good it was.
I know this was just really great.
Yeah.
Any of my expectations that I had of watching a movie from this time period, which
Yep.
I will say is mostly molded by the fact that I've seen a lot of Hitchcock from
Mm.
this time period. It blew my expectations out of the water. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Here's a Criterion I know that you've watched. Not like made for Criterion, but is on that channel, and both Brandon and I had never seen it. I think you're a fan of this one, The Grifters.
Yes.
Yeah,
I love The Grifters.
it's
It's
great.
so good.
It's
phenomenal.
so funny.
Yeah.
I think that was something I didn't know that I'd be getting, but it is very funny.
Oh, you
Uh,
did a lot of Annette Bening.
Without realizing I did, yes. Yes. I think after I watched, because Grifters was like, so we have a trial membership to Criterion. So whenever I get anything for free, I'm like milking it until I can't.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the one that I think both of us wanted to watch. So I just made a point. I think it might have been going off Criterion. So I was excited to do it, and it's very good.
Mm-hmm.
They're all great. I mean, she's fabulous in it.
Angelica Houston's great.
So good. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's great. Everybody looks good.
Mhm.
Everybody's like hot and
And sweaty.
on the
Yeah.
move and like it's really a good story and well acted. I think it's great. Yeah.
And the way it kind of like some of it's more like risque themes or some of it's
Mhm.
more like Oedipal stuff, I guess. Like the way it does that is all brilliant, I think. Like because some of it says, some of it doesn't, and it's there and it's really good stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have more? I have a few more Criterion.
I don't think I have any more criteria. Was this on Criterion? So this is oh boy, I'm really showing my ass today. Baby's First Ken Russell? No, that can't be true.
That can't be true for you. No,
I've seen Tommy.
you've seen Tommy. Yes, that was Baby's first Ken Russell. I saw Tommy when I was like 10. That was definitely my
I saw
intro.
Tommy when I was really young. And I've seen parts of other stuff, but let's just say this is the first Ken Russell that I've sat down as an adult. I know, I'm so sorry. I know Devils exists. I really do. And that I chose to watch, of all things, Gothic.
I have no problem with that. I was just talking about Gothic because I also watched a Ken Russell movie on Criterion, not Gothic.
What did you
I
watch?
watched The Boyfriend.
Ah,
Yeah.
I'm really behind on life.
No, no, you are not. Here's what I love is how different those two movies are and how different those movies are from The Devils.
Yeah, so I didn't know what to expect with Gothic. I mean, I get what it is. It's like a Mary Shelley thing.
Hmm.
Like I knew what going in. That it is a very strange movie. I think I liked it, but that being said, I know kind of I've read more about Ken Russell movies than I've ever seen them.
That's
I
fair.
know kind of what he does. I know his vibe. I know his influences. I know what he was doing. Having seen that with that knowledge, it makes me excited to watch other stuff because
Hmm.
I just don't think I think this didn't work for me. It's not wasn't him. It was this story specifically.
Mm.
Just didn't work.
I watched Gothic probably about 15 years ago from one of those Mill Creek discs. Yeah,
Interesting.
I guess for a while it just didn't, it was up in the air and ending
Mm-hmm.
up there. So I watched a really muddy print of it and I liked it, but this was again a long time ago, so I don't remember much of it. Um, but yeah, that's fascinating that would be your first one.
If you don't know, Gabriel Byrne's in it, and so is Julian
Julian
Sands.
Sands, yeah.
So that to me is enough. Young Gabriel Byrne,
And
and
young
then
Natasha Richardson.
that's true. I almost forgot that. And then like the cover is very evocative. Like a demon sitting on top of a lady, all
Hmm.
sprawled out. And the fact that it's like Mary Shelley and Lord Byron related
Hmm.
is going to be a hook for me too. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't have gone in with something that I had strong like attachment to, like a Mary Shelley Lord Byron
Hmm.
thing. And I should have watched Lair of the White Worm first.
Yeah, I like Lair of the White Worm. It's been a while, but I remember enjoying that one. Again,
Yeah.
it's actually Lair of the White Worm might be a little tonally similar to Gothic in some ways, where it's very
Interesting.
like kind of big and gross, but also kind of funny and I won't say not taking things seriously, but sort of very like if memory serves, it feels very British.
Huh. Yeah,
Um,
the trailer for it made so I didn't know what that movie was about until I watched the trailer, maybe on Criterion, and I was like, "Wait, this is what this movie is?"
yeah,
I had no idea because based on the cover, you wouldn't necessarily guess
right, right.
that. It's
Yeah,
very sexy and sleek. I didn't think it was going to be British too.
he makes a lot of very different movies. The Boyfriend is completely different from all of those.
Yeah, I was just looking at the cover to that. It
Yeah,
was
it's a musical.
wild.
This one, Abby recommended this one, and I decided to give it a go. It is a like it's I guess it's late 70s, I think. And it is set in the 20s, and it's just a theater putting on a musical, and Twiggy is the stage manager, and the lead gets sick, so Twiggy has to go on for her. And it's just like madcap farce musical. Tommy Tune dances like crazy. Twiggy is great in it. She's so adorable and lovable, and you can you could see where like he kind of wanted to build a movie around her, and it's great. It's a bit long. It's like over 2 hours, and I had to like
Yeah.
watch it in three sittings, I think. But there's some great dancing. Like it's not life changing, but it's kind of cute. Like I had a really good time with it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
Man, that Criterion channel.
yeah. I got
It,
three more from there.
oh, do it.
All right, Lynch Oz, which is a documentary, just a bunch of different
Hmm.
filmmakers talking about David Lynch and his and Wizard of Oz together, which for me is like, oh, this is a good combo,
Hmm.
enjoyable. Nothing life shattering, but enjoyable to hear like John Waters and Karin Kusama talk about these things.
Yeah. I've
Uh,
I've been wanting to check it out, but I
yeah,
just
you'd
haven't.
enjoy it. Definitely give it a go. One that I was like kind of this is a movie that I don't know that I ever heard of this movie until Yellow Jackets, and then apparently like everybody was one of those things where it was very like, oh yeah, of course I should have heard of this movie. So it was The Watermelon Woman.
Yes, I know I've not seen it, but I do know of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's on Criterion. It is a scrappy movie. It is very low budget. It's clearly like a young director with a lot to say and not much money to say it, but it's a wonderful portrait of an era of lesbians in this era, which I
Hmm.
definitely weren't seeing anywhere, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. And then the last one on Criterion I watched, I am so curious if you've seen this, and if not, I would love for you to watch it because I'm really curious what you would think of it. Um, I think it's 87 also, somewhere around there. Laura Dern, Treat Williams, Smooth Talk.
No, I have not.
Do you know anything about this?
I know of it, mostly because of Laura Dern, but I don't know. I've never watched it, so clearly it never got me. Would 85? 85.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah.
It's she's young. I think she's like 19 when she made it, and she's playing much younger. She's playing 15. It is based on Joyce Carol Oates' "Where Are You Going? Where Have You Been?"
Mhm.
Which
Mhm.
have you read that? It feels like a short
No,
story you would have read.
not in a long time, but yes.
Okay. And it is I don't know. I thought this was very good. It's a female director.
Mhm.
It is, a teenager in the South who, wants to go to the mall and flirt with boys, but also is like really doesn't understand what that means and also doesn't understand her mom and her mom doesn't understand her and there's this mysterious figure in town who seems to be following her. It's very I don't know, you should just watch it. I would really recommend you give this a go.
Yeah, so on IMDb, the little trailer started to autoplay at the
Uh-huh.
top, and I let it go because I just want, get a
Yeah,
vibe
yeah,
for
yeah.
what it looks like. It looks phenomenal.
It's really good.
And she's
Um
so cute. I just love
yeah.
Laura Dern.
I was reading like some of the original like reviews of it, and Roger Ebert, who really liked it, made a really great point about it, which is Laura Dern in this movie there is within the same scene she could look like she is 12 and she could look like she is 25,
Hmm.
and how much that is this character and how much that is like any woman of that or girl of that or young woman of that age,
Hmm.
and how that plays in the world and how um, I think this movie very much is, you know, you and I are both obviously women who like to seek out movies from female directors because
Hmm.
so a lot of times we say it makes a difference. It makes a difference when a woman is telling a woman's story. And this very much feels very tapped into something.
Ooh,
So
exciting.
yeah, I'd be excited for you to watch it.
Yeah, okay, add it to the list.
All right. So I just have some musicals left. What else do you have?
Let's see. Well, let's talk about something fun. So there is a movie from 2001 that I had never heard of. Um, it's called The Forsaken. It
Forsaken.
it's oh boy, I'm so terrible at this. Jonathan
Sheck. Yes,
Shaq.
we like him.
We love him and he's in
He
everything.
is. An honorary member of the Feminine
He
Critique.
truly is. He's in this.
Okay.
He's in Suitable Flesh too.
Christine, do you know who
What?
is in this movie?
Who? Simon Rex.
More importantly, you probably would not have recognized the name.
Oh, tell me. Who?
Uh, the actor's name is Brendan Fair. Brendan
Uh-huh.
Fair was in a little movie called uh now now it depends on how you write it because remember this movie had 17 different titles. He was in A Christmas Kiss.
Oh, was he really?
Uh-huh.
You know, he's got a lot more movies
Mhm.
highlighted in
He's
my
he's the
letterbox than
guy
I
that I
thought.
like to call dry clean only Chris, what's his name? Captain America,
Yeah,
right?
there
Does
he
he
is.
looks like Captain America but like a sort of oh no, we made too many photocopies of him type thing.
And for those of you who don't remember which one A Christmas Kiss was, because I remember and didn't have to look it up at all, that's
Wow.
the one with Elizabeth Rom. I
Mhm.
didn't remember it at all. I had no idea which one A
That because it
Christmas
was
Kiss was.
actually a 90-minute commercial for K jewelers, so
That
it's
one.
forgiven if you mix that up.
Yeah, so this is from 2001, so he's an itty bitty baby in it.
Oh,
And
Forsaken.
Keir Smith is in it and
Hmm.
Simon Rex is in it. It's actually like a vampire movie. It has big near dark energy. I won't say that this movie is great. It's not. But
Okay.
if you like movies from the early 2000s that have the energy that this cover is giving, this floating heads, hazy blue
Yes, yes.
energy, then You have to watch this movie.
Understood. All right. I'm intrigued. I'm looking at the director. He did Wicked Little Things, which was one of those like movies to be scared of, and a
Yeah,
six
yeah.
pack. And I remember that one being okay. So interesting. Okay.
It's not great, but I like those weird older like they were going for our demographic,
Hmm.
but I
Oh
guess I
yeah.
missed them when they came out. I'm fascinated in
And
like
somehow they're like really fun today, even though I would not have liked it back in that era. Yeah.
fully. It's almost better that I didn't
Yeah.
see this when I was like
Yep.
18.
Yep. I'm with you. I can't explain it, but it's a thing that's been happening.
Yes, I think that one might have been on Tubi or something. It was super easy to find.
Nice.
What else you got? You want to do your
My
start
musicals.
and on your surprisingly, I don't have any musicals this
What?
week.
Christine? My God. Did you not have the conversation with your husband that I had with mine? Which was he came home from work one day and he told me how one of his coworkers was really mad when he said he had never seen The Sound of Music. And I looked at my husband Brannon, who you have to understand is like knows more about musical theater than I do, and I'm pretty good
Hmm.
at musical theater. And I looked at
Not to
him.
brag, but
No, I mean, right.
it's
My
true.
chin was on the ground because I'm like, wait, hang on, I gotta reattach my jaw so I can talk to you about this. I'm like, how is it possible that you have never seen The Sound of Music? And he's just like, I don't know, I've just never seen it. I'm like, but you love Julie Andrews and your mother loves musicals and it's on every year and it's every substitute teacher at some point in life shows it to their class. Like, how have you never? And he's like, are you mad? I'm like, I'm just upset that I didn't know this. Like, I'm like, it's this fundamental thing. Like, I don't know. It would be as if suddenly he turned to me and said, "Hey, by the way, you know, I don't actually have a driver's license." Like that's what it felt like. Just this very weird, like, thing I had just always assumed about him was like, yeah, of course my husband's seen The Sound of Music. No, he hasn't. And all this is to say, like, I don't love The Sound of Music by any means. It's too long and the kids are kind of annoying. Like, it's not my favorite musical at all. But I was like, yeah, we have to watch it. I don't really want to watch it, but yes, we have to sit down and watch this movie because it's weird that you have not seen it. So, and funny enough, I watched
Are you
this.
gonna say Drag Race?
Oh no, yes, because last night that was the thing.
That that
What
was weird.
what
For
I was going to
Friday.
say was what was really weird was I watched The Sound of Music the same day that I saw Zone of Interest,
Oh
which
well,
just feels like a double feature that was made by somebody.
it is quite the pairing.
Right? Like there's some thematic tie-ins because again, like both are not about the action. Like it's
Yes.
yes. So that was just a surreal bit of a
Living with it,
day.
I guess, would be the theme. Living
Yes,
amongst it.
living
Yeah.
amongst yes, and the choices you make or don't make. Yes, indeed.
That's interesting. Can I ask a follow-up? Did he avoid it or just see pieces of
No,
it
he
or
just
just never commit to
he
sitting
never
through the whole
had he
thing?
never committed to sitting down and watching it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I've seen huge chunks of it. I know
Hmm.
the story. I know that I get the references, but I've never bothered to sit down and watch it from tip to
Yeah,
tail.
and I'm not going to tell you to do that, but I did have to tell my husband to do that.
Well, look, I understand. I was a little surprised he hadn't seen it either.
Yeah, and similarly, he had never seen 1776. And I'm like,
Interesting.
you're a presidential history person. How did you not? So we watched that, which is actually great. That as a film musical, I think when it came out, it was probably not like the coolest movie just because it was the 70s and you have some very much more you have Tommy being made. Like your idea of a
Yeah.
musical is not that, but as a musical it is actually much more like sexually risque and kind of like much more adult, but it deals with slavery. It has songs that are very haunting about it.
Mhm.
And as much as that is also one that you would think like teachers would show in history class, it holds up and there's some very good stuff to it. So
Yeah, I've definitely never seen that one.
I'll forgive you for that. It's okay.
Oh, thank you. You know me. Not that musically inclined. Hmm. I have something.
I want to hear it.
Um, I don't know, man. I'll talk about the one I liked first. So it's a movie from 1987 called The Bedroom Window,
The bedroom window.
and it stars Steve Guttenberg and Elizabeth
Ooh.
McGovern.
Oh,
Oh, and Isabel Hooper.
hooper.
Hubba. I don't know how to say it
I
right.
say hooper. I don't know if I'm
Um,
right. I just like saying it that way.
So this I like voyeur movies, but I like when I like the more like Rear Window style of voyeur movies where
Okay.
like I've seen something type
Mm-hmm.
of stuff. So the general conceit of this movie is like this lady is having an affair with Steve Guttenberg, and
Poor
she's
thing.
so she he's not bad in this movie. So she's in a place that she shouldn't have been
Ah.
when she sees like an attempted like murder of
Mm-hmm.
a woman. So she doesn't want to like come forward because that would implicate her as like, you know, lying to her
Mm-hmm.
husband and having an affair. So Steve Guttenberg says that he saw it.
Okay.
So and then it just goes from there.
Okay. I'm looking at. Do you realize who directed this?
Probably.
Curtis Hanson.
Who's Curtis Hanson? Oh, 8 Mile.
I was going to say The Hand That Rocks Your Cradle and
No,
LA
no,
Confidential, but you have your references. I have mine.
no. I've actually never seen 8 Mile. For me, it's actually River Wild and L.A. Confidential.
Ah, yes, yes.
But yes, I did know that he had directed L.A. Confidential, so it looks good too. Like
Sure.
it's compelling. It looks really nice. It's you know it's also a bygone era, right? Like
Yeah.
there's just something about this kind of movie. The way that we would be a voyeur in the late 80s is
Mm.
different than how we would be a voyeur now,
Oh,
kind of.
yes.
So like it's interesting to see that, and
Hmm.
that's a high recommend from me. It was a fun
Nice.
one.
Very nice.
You got something else?
I have two left. So one of
Okay.
them, this I was actually on the projection booth a few weeks ago, and this is a movie I had never heard of. I would say it's a musical, it's a comedy, it's a lot of things. It is 1948, I think, or thereabouts. This is a German movie, two titles depending on the translation. It is either The Original Sin or The Apple Fell.
Ooh.
This was
Okay.
delightful. It is very strange. It is it's sort of a like Adam and Eve story, but it's done like it starts with it's like as if a modern businessman who's ends up checking himself into like a mental facility and then sort of dreams that he is Adam and Eve and so on. But it's very it's a lot of things. It's very funny. It is very German. It is very much a post-war movie. So it's I guess I didn't know this was a thing, but they call it like rubble cinema
Oh,
of,
interesting.
Germany post World War II was a country that was in shambles. And a lot of the films that came out from that dealt with it or didn't deal with it, but it was always there, kind of. So this is definitely a part of that. And it's just a really strange film. It's very entertaining. It's very funny. And a high recommend. I have no idea where you can find it because it's not, I don't think it's streaming. It's probably not easy to locate, but if you can, it is well worth it.
It sounds
Yeah.
interesting. I'll have to watch it and listen to that episode.
Yes,
I'm
it's
so
episode
be
666.
Whoa, look at
Yeah,
me
I feel
go.
very special for that.
That is very cool and
Hmm.
weird.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, I have this is my last one, or the last one I feel like talking about. um, it is a movie from 1981.
Ooh.
It is written and directed by Michael Crichton.
This
It is
movie
called
is Westworld.
No, it's not
It's not?
Westworld. I said to my husband, his name's Zach. I don't know why I said it that way. Um, I said, there's a Michael Crichton movie I want to watch from the early 80s. And he said, oh, is it about a world in the West? And I was like, no. I don't know why everybody went there.
Because
I
I
still
didn't
haven't.
realize he directed anything else. I thought he only directed Westworld.
I know. Isn't this fun and weird? It's a movie
Yes.
called Looker. And
Okay,
it
now that you say
stars
this, I have heard of this movie.
Albert Finney.
Wow.
Um, okay. I loved this movie as much as I didn't like this movie. This movie was so convoluted at times. I had to go and read the Wikipedia plot description of it to make sure I didn't miss anything. It's about a okay. Hold on. Let me set the stage for you.
Okay, okay.
So Albert Finney is a plastic surgeon. Actually, you know what? I might be obsessed with this movie. So Albert Finney is a plastic surgeon, and he does plastic surgery, and
As plastic surgeons do.
he's had this like group of young, beautiful women come in with lists of what they want done to their face, but like to the millimeter. So they
Mm,
want like their cheekbones 2 millimeters higher and their nose 3 millimeters. And
okay.
he thinks this is very weird. He's like, why do these girls keep coming in with lists? So he makes friends with one of the girls. Her name is Susan Day. Not in the movie,
Yes,
but
it
in
is.
real
Yes,
life.
indeed.
So he finds out essentially that there's basically like this computer program that is able to generate commercials and content without people, but they use the
Oh.
people as like models for it. So
Wow, ahead of its
yeah,
time.
right. So like basically the girls were being told to alter their face so that they would be visually perfect as far as the computers thought. That is to say, the computers think they're visually perfect, and then they can get put into these ads
Right.
being visually perfect without them
Fascinating.
actually being in the ads. But they start killing the girls because like they want to bury the project or something.
Mm.
Again, slightly convoluted. And like Looker refers to this gun that shoots like light that can like disorient you and like steal time from you.
Hmm.
It's very strange.
Fascinating.
This is a very weird movie and I loved it, but also like I don't know, maybe it might not have been good.
But I mean, clearly it was interesting.
It was, I think you're completely right about like that's what they were they're trying, that was one of the reasons why the actors went on strike,
Yeah.
because they wanted to basically
Yeah,
scan
protect
you.
their, yeah.
Yeah, because they were like, well, we're going to scan you, and then we can use you in perpetuity forever,
Yep.
and not pay you, and not ask your permission.
And
And that
yeah, you could be doing a movie for Auschwitz that you did not consent to.
you could,
It's,
yeah, you just show up and things.
yeah.
So it was really interesting, I think, to see that being explored without the infrastructure that modern media
Yeah.
has. So like how do you visualize that in the 80s?
Yep.
It was very odd. So it's a
Neat.
recommend for oddity's sake, but I don't know if you're going to get anything out of it if you watch
Oh,
it.
I'd be curious. Where did you find it? Not,
Ooh.
hmm,
Um
'cause it doesn't look like it's streaming anywhere, but
I think we could, I think you could buy it on Vudu
okay.
or
Interesting.
Amazon, or Google Movies is another one that we will just rent from, but
Huh.
it did exist.
I
Like
believe it.
at first I was like, "Oh no, is this going to be one of those that like is super out of print and you need to find like a VHS on
Right.
YouTube?" But no, it seemed to be out there.
Okay. I will keep my eye out for it. Well, the last movie I have is a rewatch.
Okay.
But it was one of those, when like, it was for so Christmas Eve, we were actually in a hotel because we were coming back home, but we didn't want to take like a Christmas Eve flight, so instead we like stayed at the airport hotel that night, got an early flight Christmas Day, and came home. So Christmas Eve, we're at like just in a hotel, nothing to do, near bedtime, but not quite bedtime. So I turned the TV on, like just like it's so tough because it's the old school cable, so you don't know what you're watching. You can't find the guide channel to tell you what's coming on, so you're just
Mhm.
winging it. You're hoping you land on
Mhm.
something. And like, is it not a dream come true to land up on a Step Up movie?
Oh. Yeah.
And so,
Honestly, that's best case scenario.
best case, best case.
We were in a lot of hotels between just like last time Seattle trips and then going down to Palm Springs to like look for a place. And all we could find to watch was like reruns of Friends.
Yeah,
There was like nothing on.
yeah,
So you
yeah.
got very lucky.
I did, I did. I was gifted.
Which
And
one?
this Step Up 4, Revolution.
Good one.
Yep. This is the one that for me is like kind of the least. Not the least. Again, we don't count one as a movie. One is separate. It's You Got Served, and then Step Up to the
Mhm.
Streets, Step Up
Yep.
3D, Step Up for Revolution, and Step Up
Mhm.
all in. So 4 is not the one I would think like of always going back to. For me, it's 3 and 5, and then 2.
3 and 5. 3 and 5.
Yeah.
Yep.
But 4, I'm gonna say, has the best dance sequences.
Yes. So 5 for me, I'm glad we're talking about this.
I can
5 for
always
me
talk about this.
is the pinnacle.
It's everything. It is, they collected
Mhm.
everything from these 5 movies and said, we're going to give you all of it in 90 minutes, and they do
Yep.
it gloriously. Yes. There's not a
So
minute there's like one joke I don't like. There's not a minute in that movie that does not give me immense joy.
mhm. But so 5 for me, perfect.
Yep.
We've discussed it, and if you've been listening for a million years, I have been the part 3 dissenter. I
Mm.
don't think 3 is as strong as other people. I think 4 is stronger than 3 for the exact reason that you just said, though, the dance
The
sequences,
dance sequences
because
are the
that's
best.
why I'm there.
Mm. Yeah.
I'm not there for cuteness. I'm not there for characters. I'm not there for musical, like things that feel like a musical. And there's, for me, stuff in 3, especially the Moose stuff, feels like classic cutesy musical.
And see, I just love Moose so much that's also part of it is his, he cameos in 4. But it's so good because it's like you're waiting the entire movie. You're like, man, it'd be nice if Moose showed up.
And then he shows up.
And it's like the way he shows up. And like nobody should know who he is, but he shows up and like just opens a door and it's him. And it's like everybody goes crazy because we all know. And then suddenly he goes to the mayor and he's like, hey, mayor, this is what's going to happen, right? And the mayor's like, yeah, Moose.
A legend.
Yes, 100%.
That's so fun. I love those movies.
Yeah, they're just perfect. They're so joyous. And 4 really does. Like the dance and like the finale goes on for like 30 minutes. It's great. There's like what are they? Skateboarding, they're parkouring, they're like
running
doing
up and down the walls.
Oh my god, the walls. Yes. But then you also have like the protest dance songs, which are really fun. And it's really the dance sequences in 4 are just beautiful. Like they really are just the dancing itself is high quality and I love watching that. Yeah.
What a fun way to end on, because,
always.
I love those movies.
Good times. Well, with that being said, we will be back at some point. We gotta wait for some things to settle down over in Christine Land.
That's true. Yeah.
So if you don't hear from us for a while, know that we're waiting.
Next time you hear from me, I might sound different because I'll be very warm. Well, I'll be in a different apartment, basically.
I like the idea that your voice changes because of weather.
Yeah, well, I might actually look. Everybody, let's play a fun game. You know how phlegmy and mucusy, and how often I have to clear my throat. Let's see if it's any better next time you listen.
Ooh, okay. Next time I'll have a little bell and I'll ding it anytime.
So it's not that bad today. But
for the record, I have never considered you phlegmy in terms of voice.
That's so funny.
Not a word I would use to describe you.
I had to mute to cough just now.
How kind of you.
Yeah, I we'll see. This is all great and happy, but wonderful. I will be delayed in getting back to speaking with you, and that makes me sad.
It does. Yes, me as well. But I wish you a safe journey. Cannot wait to hear of all the adventures you have along the way and the things we will talk about when you get there.
Yay!
And people in the meantime, if you miss Christine, you can always buy her books. ChristineMakepeace.com.
Yep,
very good.
That's me.
You got short stories. You got a novel. You got 2 novels? Got 1 novel.
A novel and a novella.
Novella, short stories. So come on, people. Go get it. Hear and read the wonderful words of Christine Makepeace. And we can be found in the meantime, I guess, on Instagram at feminine_critique_pod. Facebook, Feminine Critique Group, and I haven't been on Twitter in a while, so maybe we're there. Feminine Podcast. Maybe not. Go to the other places and find us.
Yeah.
All right, so safe journey to everybody, and happy Leap Day when it comes up.
Oh, very exciting.
Yes.
The Von Trapp Family Singers!
So, a needle pulling thread. La, a note to follow. So, tea, I drink with jam and bread. That will bring us back to do tea la so fa mi re. Do tea la so fa mi re. Do tea la so fa mi re. Do so do.
Look, it's me, the MC!
Come along, children, hurry up now. Get in line next to the freak. But it's We're a sad sort of remnant from an innocent time when the critics would not poo-poo. A show filled with melody or mountains to climb or characters a bit cuckoo.
Cuckoo!
That's you! Now cabaret looks brilliant, but our show less resilient for sentiment
Cuckoo
is through. So long, farewell, great shows like us have vanished. We're so uncool, we're practically banished.
So long, farewell, new shows are dark and dismal.
But we're so sweet, they hand out Pepto-Bismol.
Veggie! So long, farewell, We're stinkier than strudel.
The critics said we're soggy as a noodle.
The cabaret is slightly overrated. The times have changed and Sound of Music's dated. Auf Wiedersehen. A bientôt.